Happy International Women's Day, everyone! For today, I decided to make a list of my top 7 fictional female characters of all time. I hope you enjoy it. Number 7. Rogue. You know, for a character with a power that has the potential to put anyone she touches into a coma, she's pretty cheerful. Rogue is unique to me because there have been many different versions of her written, and you know what? I can't say I've seen a single version I didn't. I like the flirtatious and quirky Rogue from X-Men the Animated Series. I like the jaded and insecure Rogue from X-Men Evolution. I like the aggressive and independent Rogue from Wolverine and the X-Men. The list goes on. To me, Rogue is a symbol of coping with something unavoidable. No matter how often her powers got in the way, no matter how many times she was beaten, no matter how many times she's been reimagined, one thing will never change about her, and that's her fighting spirit. Number 6. Haruko Haruhara. Haruko is a very bizarre character. She's manipulative, cunning, and a complete sociopath. But I can't help but feel this immense sense of joy when watching her in action. She's a character that always gets what she wants by deceiving others, but instead of doing it quietly and in the shadows, she does it in the loudest, most obnoxious way she can think of at the time. Because of this, many see her as a joke, but little do they know she's almost always 2 steps ahead of them. She is extremely unpredictable, and that's why I've always thought of her as a fun character. To me, Haruko symbolizes a thirst for adventure. I say this because she makes even the most mundane things into something she can play with.
It takes an idiot to do cool things. That's why it's cool.
She has every trait you can think of that would create an unsympathetic or annoying hero or villain, but her bravado, her moxie, her sheer unwillingness to take anything seriously makes for a very vibrant character in a world where everything else is serious. Well, sort of. For those of you wondering why she's higher on the list than Rogue, I'll give you one good reason. She plays the bass guitar. Number 5. Nani Pellet. Talk about an underrated Disney character. Nani has been the legal guardian of her younger sister Lilo ever since their parents passed away. She's only 19 and has to raise her troublemaking sister, keep a steady job so she can afford house bills, and make sure everything looks good when child protection comes in. She doesn't always succeed, but even in the face of failure, she tries to find a way to make light of the situation.
Did you lose your job because of Stitch and me?
Nah, the manager's a vampire, and he wanted me to join his Legion of the Undead.
I knew it.
Through the entire movie, I honestly couldn't help but feel as though she was a real person. She shows annoyance, she shows happiness, she shows anger, she shows fear, she shows love. To me, Nani is a symbol of responsibility. Regardless of any situation she's in, she tries not to let it bring her down, because she sees her younger sister's life as more important than her own. As an added bonus, the animator Chris Sanders specifically designed her with realistic female proportions as opposed to the standard hourglass figure we're used to seeing. Number 4. Aerith Gainsborough. You have no idea how hard it was for me to choose between my 2 favorite Final Fantasy girls. Deep down, I don't think I ever will. But when it came to making this list, I found myself having more to say about Eret than I did about Tifa. Don't worry, Tifa, you're still my choice for Cloud. Another deciding factor was, well, around 7 years ago, I saw the original play arts figures of Aerith and Tifa at a comic book store, and I purchased Aerith and left Tifa. You cannot comprehend how much I regret not getting both! On top of that, do you know how embarrassing that was? A guy like me walking up to the cashier saying, "Yes, I'd like to purchase the action figure with the bright pink dress and ribbon to match." But I digress. What makes Aerith so special to me is how she was portrayed in the original Final Fantasy VII. At first glance, you may think that she's your average damsel in distress, gentle, sympathetic, maybe a little shy, waiting for her knight in shining armor to save her. But Aerith was none of those things. Well, she did get kidnapped once, but let's just forget about that. I remember being surprised at how brash, stubborn, and flirtatious she was, but also seeing it as a breath of fresh air from a design standpoint. Usually these character traits would be applied to the scantily clad vixen like, In the original game, they took the standard character designs and swapped their personalities. That is so cool to me. Unfortunately, all the sequential things related to Final Fantasy VII have ruined both their personalities by making them the generic ones we're used to seeing. Square Enix is currently making a remake. If there's anything I personally want in the remake, it's less of this Aerith and more of this Aerith. To me, Aerith symbolizes a childlike innocence. Her naivete is cute, but it doesn't stop her from having a mischievous side. Number 3. Faith Lahani. Are you surprised Eliza Dushku's on my list? Well, you shouldn't be. I'm a fan of her work. But of all the roles I've seen her play, none of them have come close to her acting as Faith. Faith is a provocative, anger-driven, and indecisive character. She's been betrayed by practically everyone she has ever met, which ultimately leads to her lack of empathy.
Faith, you don't get it. You killed a man.
No, you don't get it. I don't care.
Or does it? Underneath Faith's boastful and promiscuous attitude lies something that many can relate to. A broken and lonely heart, reaching for someone, anyone.
Angel, please, just kill me. Just kill me.
She goes through a lot during both Buffy and Angel, but what makes her stand out from everyone else in both shows is that she has no one to lean on for moral support, and yet still makes the right decisions when push comes to shove. Looking at her past, it's interesting to ask if Faith did all those unrighteous acts because of all the betrayal, or did people betray her because of all her unrighteous acts? To me, Faith symbolizes repentance or redemption from a history of big mistakes. Trust me, she's made a lot, but her willingness to even try and do what's right again, even when no one will accept her, is quite captivating. Along with that, I like the way she talks.
Hey, baby. Come give us a hug.
I like the way she fights. I like, this clip.
118 degrees, and I'm sleeping without a stitch on. And all of a sudden I hear the screaming from outside, so I go tearing out, stark nude, and this church bus is broke down, and there's these 3 vamps feasting on half the Baptist in South Boston. So I waste the vamps, and the preacher comes up, and he's hugging me like there's no tomorrow, when all of a sudden the cops pull up, and they arrested us both.
And this clip.
Step away from the glass.
Okay, I like everything about her. Faith may not be perfect, but she'll always be my favorite Slayer.
Man or beast, Buffy.
Okay, I was hoping to not get that cynical till I was at least 40.
It's not cynical, I mean, it's realistic. Every guy from Manimal down to Mr. I Love the English Patient has beast in him. And I don't care how sensitive they act. They're all still just in it for the chase.
Number 2. Revy. I love tough girls. Revy is by far the toughest girl I know, but what gets her on the list is quite deeper than that. Often in TV shows, comics, books, and movies, you'll find that the toughest, most action-oriented girl is rough on the outside, but kind and loving on the inside. In cases of extremely bad writing, there won't be anything more than the action girl. Well, Revy is literally the opposite. She's the girl who's rough on the outside and a borderline psychotic on the inside.
She's smiling.
Instead of becoming a character the audience can sympathize with, she instead becomes increasingly more nihilistic. To her, life has no meaning. which is why killing, stealing, and other illegal activities are nothing to her. You might think that would make her seem like nothing more than a brooding, stone-cold killer, but trust me, she has one heck of a personality.
You know what you look like? Like a skeleton dancing at the Festival of the Dead.
Yeah, that's perfect. You sweet cheeks. I may be from the land of the dead, but I'm a skeleton. That's where we're all from. Me, your headmaid, those soldiers, everyone.
She's got a unique smile and a killer taste in music.
Let's dance the jitterbug, baby!
And she's not one to shy away from funny moments.
Got me! I've been hit!
Whoa, what was that? Sorry, but you got this dying thing all wrong. Only place you'll see people go down like that is in movies. In reality, you just suddenly lose all your strength. Do you understand? It's like everything below your knees disappears, then you lose balance and go down head first. I'll show you what I mean. You there.
If you're still not convinced as to why I put her so high on this list, I'd recommend you check her out and see for yourself. To me, Revy symbolizes self-destruction and reconstruction. Without giving too much away, she manages to develop into a well-fleshed-out character without being stripped of any of her violent or bloodthirsty tendencies. What else can I say but... Number 1. Cordelia Chase. Before getting into her character, I have to start by saying she's the reason I made this list. Before writing down all 7 of my choices, she was one of them. While writing for each of the characters before her, I found myself swapping everyone around. But what I found most interesting was my reluctance to move her from the number 1 spot. Not because I couldn't think of a reason to, more because I genuinely think Cordelia Chase is my favorite fictional female character. I have never seen a show take a character I thought nothing of and turn her into one of the most well-rounded fictional personalities I've ever seen. She's a girl who speaks her mind. A girl that may seem like a total ditz, but turns around to be very intelligent. It's hard to go into detail without spoiling anything for people who haven't seen Buffy or Angel, but of all the characters in both shows, she seems to mature the most. By the end of the series, she is the one I feel I actually saw grow from a snooty teenager into a genuinely kind-hearted, selfless, and loving adult. We see her life from age 15 to 22, and I think it is a believable transition, with a big exception. For those of you who know what happens to her in Season 4 of Angel, let me just say I was furious. However, her presence in Season 5 more than made up for it. For me at least. To me, Cordelia symbolizes everything great about the previous female characters on this list, and more. I also like how her maturity can be seen in the different outfits she wears through the course of her life. I know I may not be saying as much about her as I did for the other girls, but if you want to know more about her, check her out. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please let me know what you think and who your top 7 fictional female characters of all time are.